Welcome, everyone. I am Brenda Radido, and this is Africa Matters. Now, the Portuguese oil company Galp Energia says it has discovered billions of barrels of oil in Namibia's Mopane field. This could signal massive potential for economic expansion. So what will it mean for the nearly 3 million Namibians? Namibia is the third largest uranium producer in the world after Kazakhstan and Canada. That's according to the World Nuclear Association, but now it's struck black gold. Now, TotalEnergies, Shell, Galp have all made crude oil discoveries in the last 2 years. Let's take a closer look. The Southern African country is estimated to be the source of 2.2 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and more than 11 billion barrels of light oil across 3 basins. Portuguese oil company Galp Energia estimates there are at least 10 billion barrels of oil in the Mopane field located in the Orange Basin. Galp hold an 80% stake in petroleum exploration in the region, covering nearly 10,000 square kilometers. The discovery is poised to provide Galp with revenue on a massive scale. The company may attract other investors to its Namibian projects, potentially generating billions of dollars. The Mopane field discovery could kickstart Namibia's oil industry, attracting interest from big oil companies and organizations like OPEC+, who are eyeing Namibia for possible membership as it is set to become Africa's 4th largest oil producer by the next decade. Let's speak to Leonard Mbule, who is a senior consultant in the business intelligence team at Consato. He joins us from Cape Town in South Africa. Thank you for joining us today on Africa Matters. Now, some estimates talk about foreign companies taking $8 out of every $10 earned from the oil sale. How will Namibia find a way to prevent Western energy giants from taking the lion's share of the wealth?
Good afternoon once more, Brenda, for having me on air. With respect to Namibia and just generally African countries, what we have had is a tendency for conglomerates, not just Western, but then even from the Middle East as well as Asia, taking the lion's share of access to these mineral resources, and in this case, oil. One of the growing trends, however, is we're seeing countries being pay more attention to resource nationalism. That is, taking steps to ensure that, be it state oil companies or other state entities, have greater shares inscribed in the contracts. You also have local content rules, which ensure that local companies have a greater ability to benefit from the opportunities accruing from these activities. The thing is, with these companies, they are always going to have an involvement because such activities require a lot of capitals, which local companies don't have at the moment. So I think it's a matter of mitigating how much dominance they have by ensuring that state entities as well as local companies have legislation which allows them to play a bigger role in these activities.
All right, but how will that happen? Because you're seeing that Western energy firms already are controlling 80% of the new fields, while the Namibia state company is only controlling 10%, and another Namibian company, oil company, is controlling another 10%. How will that happen?
Like I said, you have to have consistent dialogue with these entities, because at the end of the day, Namibia is a sovereign nation. It has an elected government. They have lawmakers, and therefore they must engage with the current holders of the concession, that is the Portuguese company Galp. We've seen, for example, in Senegal, wherein there are currently discussions going on between BP, which has the concession for the offshore oil deposits there, and they've made them know that, look, we want you guys to work with us, but then there has to be a mutually beneficial partnership. So governments and other state entities need to have honest conversations with these companies to ensure that there is more benefit from the local interest to be taken into consideration.
All right. And you know, Namibia's economy has largely been dominated by mining, agriculture, fishing, and tourism. So what does this mean for Namibia, particularly the economy?
Well, it's very important because another thing is most people don't realize that Namibia was controlled by South Africa for several decades and was also confronted with apartheid. And the legacy of apartheid still exists, wherein Namibia is considered the second most unequal country in the world, and a lot of the economic interests are still held by the white minority. what this oil could potentially do is that it'll allow for resources to be made available wherein wherein the majority of the population, that is the majority Black population, can have access to opportunities via education, skills training, as well as the upskilling of entrepreneurs in various domains which have to date been controlled by minority. It'll also give Namibia the ability to expand into potentially other lucrative economic sectors beyond what is being practiced at the moment.
Yes, Mbule, I mean, you've explained it very well how the economy, the finding of the oil will benefit Namibians. But then the question would be, how can Namibia avoid the resource chaos of corruption, social tensions, and instability with the potential oil and gas boom?
Yes, I mean, we've heard this stories across the world, and not only Africa, but across the world. Resources usually bring trouble. They bring conflict, they bring corruption and lack of transparency. But then, like I said, Namibia can take example from other African countries. Just next door, we have Botswana, which has the Pula Fund, a sovereign wealth fund, which has been utilized to channel the diamond resources and used to the benefit of the population, and not just for the current population, but future generations. I've seen that Namibia is also in the process of putting together a sovereign wealth fund. There has to be significant oversight. The SWAPO government, that is the ruling party of Namibia, has had some issues in the past with respect to managing large-scale contracts with foreign entities. There's going to need to be greater oversight. And one of the good things is that Namibia is a fairly well-respected democracy, and there's going to be a lot of oversight. And it's very important politically for SWAPO because they're at a point in time where, even though they are the ruling party, they are losing support. And if now the government is unable to, promote a developmental agenda through the access to these resources, it could be bad for them politically. So sovereign wealth agenda, yes.
All right. So, and it is estimated that Namibia's oil will take a while before hitting the market. Can you explain why the stretched timelines before the oil hit the market?
Yes, regularly with extractive sector activities, be it oil and gas or minerals, it takes a significant time because there's exploration, there are feasibility studies, and then even when these are done, it requires a lot of capital injection in order to ensure that these deposits are commercially exploitable. So, for example, next door, Mozambique, we have the natural gas deposits which are being exploited by a large-scale French company. They were discovered around 2010 and 2011, but it's only now that it's coming into production. So these take a long time, and that's why oil and gas companies, usually from larger countries, that is from well-developed countries and Asia, are the ones who carry them out because now they have the technical expertise as well as the capital to carry out these very complex and enduring activities.
All right. Thank you so much, Leonard Mbule, who is a senior consultant in the business intelligence team at Consatu, talking to us from Cape Town in South Africa.
Thank you for having me on air.
Still to come here on Africa Matters.
I'm Hilary Noroka, and I'll tell you how a Nigerian airline is giving the big international airlines a run for their money by disrupting prices on the lucrative and busy Lagos-London routes.
April the 27th marks the 30th anniversary of Freedom Day in South Africa. That's when millions of Black South Africans exercised their right to vote for the first time, signaling the end of apartheid or white minority rule. However, 3 decades later, the country once led by Nelson Mandela faces many challenges. One significant issue is the high unemployment, with 1 in 4 young people currently without jobs, as Crystal Addison reports from Cape Town.
Sia Banyantwa is what South Africans call born free. Those lucky enough to be born after the dawn of democracy in 1994. The 27-year-old says she's grateful for what people like former President Nelson Mandela did for the country to make her and millions of others free. But she's been unemployed for the past 2 years and doesn't feel free.
The minute you finish school and you end up sitting at home, it becomes like frustrating because you ask yourself a lot of things like, okay, why are those doors are not opening? Because you've been like job hunting, you have all the required papers, the necessary documents that are needed for you to be employed, but still it's still hard to find a job.
The country has one of the most progressive constitutions in the world, yet unemployment is at crisis levels. SIA is part of the 7.9 million South Africans without a job. Young people between the ages of 25 and 34 have the highest unemployment rates in the country, currently standing at almost 60%. The economy has simply not delivered the jobs, and 30 years of democracy and the promise of a better life seems far-fetched for millions of people. Under ANC rule, Africa's largest social grant system supports millions of people, but the economy is facing many challenges, including the electricity crisis. And with high levels of crime, people feel they are being held hostage by criminals.
So far, the only thing we've been told is freedom. This is going to be my first year voting this year, so I don't know if I'm looking forward to it or I'm not, because I don't know which party to vote for.
30 years of freedom for me means a lot. When apartheid was done, we walked into freedom. It was good. There were a lot of opportunities for us, but nowadays the ANC does nothing for our people. I would like the ANC to get off their high horse.
Analysts say people are growing impatient with the ruling ANC's broken promises. And while the past 30 years holds historical significance, the road to freedom has not been easy.
For the generation that's currently the born free or the post-Mandela generation of children, they not necessarily have those same kind of feelings. Because for them, they only know what the hardship is of a democracy. They don't understand the kind of hardship and the road to democracy. Because for them, the democracy is supposed to change their lives.
The country heads to an important election in less than 4 weeks, and polls have indicated that the ANC might lose its comfortable majority for the first time since 1994. Crystal Alderson, Africa Matters, Cape Town, South Africa.
To Nigeria now, where economy return tickets for flights from Lagos to London just got a whole lot cheaper. The average price used to be between $1,700 and $2,600, costing more than double flying from cities in other West African countries. Nigerian passengers complained, but major international airlines blamed the pricing on local taxation and operational difficulties. Now, a local airline has slashed its fares to record lows, sparking a price war. Hilary Noruka has the story.
Dumebi Musa is a frequent flyer. The British-Nigerian woman flies between her country of birth and that of her parents several times a year, usually with well-known international airlines. This year, she has chosen Air Peace, a Nigerian carrier that is significantly reducing fares so they are cheaper than foreign airlines operating the same routes and disrupting prices on the lucrative Lagos-London routes.
Air Peace is a brand, is a company by us and for us, made for Nigerians. So I believe that we should support our own company. And I believe we used to have Nigerian Airlines or something like that before. So I just felt like I want to be flying with an airline that is for Nigerians and I want to support my own country. So that's pretty much it. And the prices are really competitive, so I was excited about that.
Air Peace, already West Africa's largest carrier, started flying passengers between Lagos and London a month ago. The catch? A mix of patriotism, ticket prices slashed by half. Now, other airlines are following Air Peace's lead by slashing prices by more than 60% in an unprecedented price war. A return ticket used to cost more than $1,700, but can now be bought for less than $1,000. Air Peace has been filling its planes since it started flying to London from Lagos. Passengers are enticed by its pricing strategy, but aviation experts say the airline needs more than nationalism to compete and beat the bigger international airlines at their game. Alex Nwuba is the president of the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association of Nigeria.
Air Peace need to maintain consistency. That's a major thing. Flights have to depart on time, the return on time. Of course, there will be these games as well in the UK that try to delay the flight. But Air Peace needs to maintain service integrity. They need to treat customer as king.
It's a tough and exciting moment for Air Peace. On the one hand, it has become the darling of Nigerian international flyers, and on the other, it's facing stiff competition from much bigger airlines that can afford to soak up losses in the short term. Hilary Noruka, Africa Matters, Lagos.
Malaria remains a serious threat to global health. It remains the biggest killer in Africa. Nigeria accounts for about 27% of all malaria cases worldwide and the highest number of deaths. Palom David reports on efforts to fight the disease in the capital, Abuja.
Mercy Abraham is pregnant with her third baby. Every night, she makes sure her insecticide-treated mosquito nets are well tied to protect herself and her children from mosquitoes.
I use mosquito net because of malaria, and mosquito net do help me to save money instead of me buying drugs every time for malaria. So I prefer to sleep under the net with my children to prevent malaria.
To spread the word about the importance of sleeping under treated nets, women in this community in Abuja are being taught how to prevent malaria. Aside from distributing nets, health officials are also carrying out free testing and providing medication for those who are positive. Nigeria's Food and Drug Administration is also working to ensure the quality of the pharmaceuticals.
Now that goes before them to go and check the medicine before they even come into the country, to make sure that they are not fake, they are not substandard, and they're of good quality before we can even allow them to use it for programs like this. Even when the programs are going on, we come in between to check again, because sometimes storage can affect the potency of the medication.
Malaria is still a threat to public health in Nigeria. But efforts such as these free malaria treatments and mosquito net distribution have contributed to the World Health Organization announcing that in Nigeria, malaria incidence has reduced by 26% and deaths by 55% respectively.
But more needs to be done. Health professionals say sanitation is an issue that must be addressed.
We need more education on the public health front. We need more access to primary health care centers so that when people fall ill, they actually have places to go to get these treatments. We need better sanitation. We need to inform the public about the breeding grounds for malaria and mosquitoes as well. And I think the government can also play a role in eradication of those breeding grounds where mosquitoes thrive. There are measures that can be taken, such as introducing the insects that feed on the mosquito larvae to actually prevent the proliferation of malaria, and also introducing some form of medication that prevents them from thriving in these unsanitary places.
Meanwhile, the Global Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, has promised to prioritize Nigeria in the rollout of the R21 Matrix M malaria vaccine as an additional tool to fight the disease. But while they wait for the vaccines, Nigerians are relying on a good old-fashioned mosquito net, a simple but effective solution.
Let's change the narrative and end malaria now!
Palom David, Africa Matters, Abuja.
The British Parliament has passed a controversial bill to send asylum seekers who come to the UK on small boats to Rwanda, thousands of miles away in East Africa, to have their claim processed. The bill, which faced legal challenges and political opposition, is designed to put off thousands of people from trying to cross the English Channel every year from France to get to the UK. The government says it plans to send the first flight out to the African country within the next 10 to 12 weeks. But opponents say Rwanda is not a safe place for migrants, and the scheme is a waste of money. Simon McGregor Woods has the detail.
After months of acrimonious debate, the UK government's plan to deport illegal migrants to Rwanda was finally passed. The new legislation had faced numerous amendments from opposition parties, but in the end, the government's parliamentary majority forced it through. In the last 12 months, more than 30,000 migrants have arrived in the UK illegally, in small boats across one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. The government of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is determined to stop the traffic. On Monday, he charged both houses of the British Parliament to remain sitting until his new Safety of Rwanda bill was passed.
But enough is enough. No more prevarication, no more delay. Parliament will sit there tonight and vote no matter how late it goes. No ifs, no buts. These flights are going to Rwanda.
He wants a regular flow of charter flights to leave in 10 to 12 weeks and is adamant, despite concerns from human rights activists, Rwanda is prepared to receive them and that the flights will provide a deterrent. For Rishi Sunak, stopping the boats has become an urgent political priority. His party is languishing in the polls and there will be a general election later this year. Stopping illegal migration across the English Channel is seen as a way of regaining the trust of Conservative voters who are threatening to desert him. Controlling migration will be a key issue in the election. The opposition Labour Party, favourite to win power, says the Rwanda scheme won't work, is an expensive waste of money, and insists there are better ways to control the problem.
Labour is calling for this money to be put into boosting our border security with new cross-border police and new counter-terror style powers to go after the criminal gangs instead.
In November 2023, the UK's Supreme Court ruled the chance of migrants being sent back to their own countries where they could face persecution was too high. The new legislation seeks to address that, and Rishi Sunak insists the Rwandan government of President Paul Kagame has provided the necessary assurances. Human rights lawyers and migration activists are likely to disagree. Simon McGregor-Wood, Africa Matters, London.
When inflation rocketed in Cameroon in January this year, transport and food costs went sky high, leaving many struggling to pay their bills. It reached 7.2%, and the government had little choice but to launch a relief initiative to help people live. Elias Abje brings us that story.
In Douala, Cameroon's economic hub, the impact of rising prices is evident. Food prices have surged by 10.4% and transport costs by 16.2%, and the residents are feeling it.
Fuel prices have risen twice. The price of supermarket petrol, for example, has risen from $1.2 to $1.4 a litre. It's truly unbearable. Everything has gone up in the market. Rice, fish, vegetable oils, sugar, and even public transport and the transport of goods. So it's unbearable for Cameroonians, and we're going through some very difficult times.
The government has come up with a strategy to ease the pressure. They've set up promotional sales sites in major cities, offering discounts from 10% to 50% on food staples.
C'est magique!
It's magical because the prices are almost free. The prices are reduced. I invite all citizens, all Cameroonians to come and encourage its magic. Life is complicated. Life is hard. And in relation to that, I think that even the lowly people find themselves at ease in this initiative.
Producers and importers take part in these promotional sites and they receive government subsidies in return.
We sell for less because the government gives us a subsidy, and then we have to lower the price and we sell good quality and organic products that come straight from the field, and customers are used to our products because they are really satisfied with everything we sell.
Originally launched for the Ramadan and Easter holidays, these promotional sales have been extended until April 24th. While this may bring some relief for the now, the future seems less certain. Elias Avcı, Africa Matters.
And finally this week, we are heading to Mindelo in Cape Verde. The city is known for its vibrant carnival celebrations and is considered to be the cultural capital of the country. That's our show for this week. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen. Share your ideas and feedback. You can find us on X and on YouTube by searching TRT World Africa Matters. Thanks for watching, and it's Kwaheri from me, Brenda Radido.